Merry Meadle, just having a bit of a cackle. Lady in the run over there, she's all boofy and going on her little rampages. Be hard to see through here, but my Viking cats, Inga and Helga. My little Vikings. Yeah, blood of my blood, huh? So where are we? So this is in a lot of the old Australian house builds, they'd have like this back room which would open out into the backyard, and you know, they're almost like added on sort of thing. So it's like a hallway to the back, if that makes any sense. And this one, the windows don't open. It's collapsing. Well, the whole house is collapsing into the ground. And so I have an amazing sized shed outside. However, all the metal sheeting is rusted at the base and at the top. It needs to be re-cemented. There's bloody roofing missing. I lost one of my vintage bikes, like it was a gift, and it had leather upholstery, and it was all destroyed within a month of living here because of the cold and the damp, and then the mold got into it. I'm not putting any of my tools out there. I just use it as storage. I'm not really utilising it yet. I'll get there. There's just, you know, there's only so many things you can do at any given time. But for now, Inga can see a sparrow. You got a sparrow there. So in time I'll get out there and you know, clean it up and get my storage under control. I basically want to have the ability to store everything in large boxes, plastic boxes or tubs. So in the day that I move, I can literally spend time packing most of things into those boxes, containers, and that way I'm not having to do it within the 3 months usually that you give or they give you to move. That will make things a lot easier. I mean, I've got animals, I've got runs, I've got, you know, not just my stuff, I've got the animal stuff, straw, and, you know, it's chaos. So the more organised I am, the easier it will be. And I will be moving further out, not now or anytime soon, but it's my direction. I don't know how, but we'll go there. So since I've been blabbering on, the whole point of this recording diary is something I'm seeing quite a bit among the prepper community, especially with women, and then also young blokes, or blokes that have been working in the city, or have had a soft-handed lifestyle, if I could say. You know, they don't handle tools, don't know how to. You know, I mean, originally I was going to do this diary targeted just to women, but there's a lot of kids out there, or young guys, who have no idea on how to use tools, where to start. Where do you start with timber work, working with timber, and you know, it's almost imagery. You think of some big burly bloke with a good Makita drill and brushless kit and all kitted out with a ute, which is obviously not everybody. And look, don't get me wrong, it's from a female's perspective. We aren't designed to be bricklayers, yeah? And I say this as someone who used to be a bodybuilder, and I competed and did quite well. I could lift 240 kilos on one leg and at 8 rep max. That wasn't even a 1 rep max. That wasn't even my absolute potential that I could have got to. So I'm not a flyweight. But if I was to be doing, some bricklaying job, I might be doing well 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days a week, couple of months or even a year. But I'll be effed the year after because I'm a woman. I don't have the testosterone men have naturally. And also the joint and bone structure. Women have something called a very predominant L strike in regards to the femur, the thigh bone to the hip. That creates a little bit of instability, extra instability, which is why women's hips tend to go more than what men's do. So in a lot of situations when you're building them out, you need to squat and squat well, and you can do great in the gym squatting as a female. I mean, you can compete, you can be a strong woman, a competition-wise strong woman, and, you know, wipe the floor of the average male. However, you're not designed to be doing, you know, that shit every day. So it's facts. It's just science. It's just nature. Facts is biological facts. People that ignore those are not just deluded, but are doing a lot of self-harm. And if they're promoting it, they're doing a lot of self-harm. They're doing a lot of harm to others, especially the youth. Make facts and science great again is what I say. And just over here are my two little disabled babies, Yasuna and Kitty Cat, watching the craziness of me in this room. But anyway, so after that long ramble, this will probably be in parts. And oh yeah, I will put a preface that we are going into scary times here down under in regards to digital ID and everything. They've got a bill passing on the 26th of December, so I'm hoping I can still upload, because I will never do jingles and, you know, freaking trying to capture your attention or anything like that on purpose. These are just diaries, not scripted, no agenda other than sharing my experience and thoughts, and that it may help you or give you some ideas. And I've done, seen and experienced a lot more than the average person, female or male. She's doing this. She's already been outside. Yeah. Lady. You see, she's doing this. But, you know, so we'll see how we go. I need a new camera and everything, I know. But I need to prioritise my preps, still getting tools, the things I need from my animals ahead of time, just in case the supply chain really does cock up. I mean, the supply chain in around winter usually cocks up every year anyway. Like, it gets to a point where there's no straw or grass to be harvested, and there's like a good 2-3 months every year where we don't have any. So I usually have to have an extra 24 bales of straw, which is the aftermath of hay, just to supply my ducklings the bedding they need through the winter months, which is now, and I'm not there. I'm not going to be able to do that at least for the next 4 weeks. I'm hoping it all holds out until I can get a chance to buy another beam of she's just going around. She's all puffed up like a gerbil. Yeah, so we'll see. But you can only do what you can do, can you? So where do you start? What am I going to? How am I going to deliver this? How am I going to give people some confidence to just pick a tool up or start? Or where do you start? And I am actually going to add a few links to. I do subscribe to woodworking magazines. I've also got a large database of, you know, woodwork from magazines and publications from the 70s, even 70s, 80s, 90s. So, you know, but I'll add a couple of links to some current woodworking magazines that I sub to. They're worth getting. They also usually do some periodicals, which is like along the lines of what are the top 10 tools you need, tool reviews, you know, so you can get that fine line between what's in your budget but still of some sane quality. And oh yeah, so I'll add that. But I just want to also add that one of the things that I mentioned earlier about women and prepping is, and this is young blokes too, or guys who aren't experienced with working with their hands, like actually making things. Like a lot of kids these days are geared toward playing video games. Anyway, so this is for them too. When our men went off into war, World War I, World War II, the women actually had to cover their hair up so they didn't, get injured in the machinery, hit the factories, and had to do all the work that the men usually would do. They weren't, because the men weren't there. They were fighting the war, and a lot of the blokes didn't come home. And it's one of those retro images, isn't it? Is a woman working in a factory in overalls with her lipstick on and hair covered up in a bandana. So again, so safety, keeping the hair off the face. I believe we're at war now. It's a war against our freedoms everywhere, in globally, especially in the West. And the West is targeted because everything that we've built and created is based on those principles of freedom. Every milestone we've achieved is because of that seeking of and protection of, and that's why we're getting hit the hardest. They don't really care about the other countries that aren't part of the West because they're no threat, to put it frank. So that's why they're hitting us the hardest. So since we are at war, then shouldn't we then also be looking at our skills? So this goes to what I was mentioning before about being a prepper and how women in prepping are targeted by buying more shit, and the kids too, or males. You're targeted into buying more shit. How about creating shit? And how about getting the bare minimum that you need to be able to start making stuff? You're not going to know it overnight, and it doesn't matter what your knowledge base is or experience or skill. Just start. You got to start somewhere. The tool. I'm disabled, and I actually need glasses now. I think I've needed glasses for 9 years, and I've just sort of been kicking the can down the road and prioritising everything else. But no, it's getting to a point where seeing a millimetre is kind of a little bit hard. By the day's age, man. But yeah, I digress. So skills. So it doesn't matter where you start at, just start. And when you start working with wood or timber, as one of my teachers would say, timber, not wood, not woodworkers, okay. It would rile him up if anyone said woodwork. But anyway, timber, okay. So I actually did a year of erecting timber structures and passed it. And so I already know a bit from that. I did permaculture design, and in permaculture design there's basically it's closed loop systems, which is what farmers need to start engaging in, closed loop systems, being self-reliant and more homestead mindset opposed to just dotting the I's, crossing the T's by government regulation, which is actually horticulture, which is what I am, a horticulturalist, and there's agri sector falls under horticulture code of conduct. But there's a lot of wiggle room within that to actually have closed loop systems opposed to open, but I'm digressing again. So basically when you start with timber, it's you start getting a feel for what kinds of timber is out there. Typically you've got pine, treated and non-treated pine. You've got pallets. There's so many channels on the YouTube on making stuff out of pallets. It's really inspirational. I like Jasper Makes and Dania, who's in Australia. I'll probably add those two links too, so I'll put a couple of magazine links that are still going on, and I'll also add their links too. They're worth having a look. But yeah, going back to, so looking at timber structure, like what available timber there is to work with, then you're going to need some basic tools. And when you start with timber work, probably the most scary when you don't know, not experienced, is doing joinery. So how you attach things, how you attach, one bit of wood to another. Your workbench, having a workbench. My workbenches are literally 2 shelves at the moment. I am actually going to build my own, but I'm not going to build my own yet until I get an idea of exactly how I want the layout, which is another topic. But for now, I just want people to start thinking and looking at resources out there and compiling resources and starting off with some basic tools and then working out from there. It's a journey. You'll never get to an end destination. Looking at someone's fantastic shed or tool setup, all arranged nicely, that didn't happen overnight. That took a long time and a lot of money. And often you will buy cheaper tools before you get a more expensive, and there's nothing wrong with that. I actually think it's better because a lot of the times the more expensive tools are more finer in their work, and if you don't have the skill to use them yet, so you don't have the ability to drill straight, which takes practice and time. Just because you've got a drill doesn't think, voila, you're going to drill and it's going to be perfect every time. It's not. There is a feel to it. I used to play tennis on the circuit, and every time you hit that ball onto your racket head, you have to feel the ball through the strings and generate the exact torque that you want for that shot. Sometimes you put a little bit of a spin on it, so you end up top spin or under spin, and it's that same sort of thing. So using a drill, you've got to have practice and then get a feel for it. So just don't think just getting a drill and things are sorted. No, you've got to practice with it, and you've got to develop your ability to use it with different bits, and also working into different timber as well, even working into cement, plastic and plasterwall, or concrete, masonry. So there's that. And then once you get resources of information that are sound, I would not recommend to get your information from Joe Blogs or Jill Blogs. Often people that blog, not always, they don't really acknowledge or work within or know of any industry standard. So here in Victoria, Australia, we have WorkSafe, so there's actually standards that you need to follow in regards to health and safety, and that can be a great resource of information too, which is important. Before you do anything, your safety's first. You're working with tools, you're working with sharp bits, you can be working with a bit of wood, it's got a grain going in the wrong direction and there's a hidden nail in there somewhere, you hit the blade wrong and it goes flying, can hit you in the face, bits of, on and on it goes, dust coming out from what you're working with, you don't know what, there's a lot of possibilities. It's a big industry out there working in OH&S, and no, not just blokes work with OH&S when it comes to tradies, women too. Actually, I know quite a few women that really enjoy it. They love it, and that when they're good at their job, they love it. But anyway, so I'm just using a couple of benches here. I don't have a workhorse. I have thought of making one, but I'm just going to buy a good steel one. I'm also getting a table saw because at the moment I've just got this between 2 benches. I might as well just continue recording and it will come up in parts, and basically it will just upload as it uploads. So for me, I'm an arty person. I love my arts, everything to do with art. I do have a big room just of garn, literally. you know, my apothecary as well. But basically for me, timber work, working with timber and paint goes hand in hand. So how I want my working area with timber to be is also with art in hand. My gosh, like if my shed wasn't the piece of shit that it is, I'd have my art supplies, woodworking supplies and my garden stuff all in that one big room. It would just be one big creative den that I probably would never get out of. You know what I mean? But anyway, it is what it is. We are where we are. So the other thing too is where you put your tools. So I would start with, hang on a sec, I'm going to turn the fan off because it's irritating me. There we go. Right, so the adjoining laundry has a fan going on. It's driving me nuts. That's better, hopefully. Where was I? Yeah, so where you have your tools in that, I would have your tools in an area where you pass all the time, a room better than at the back of the yard in a shed like mine is, especially if the shed is dilapidated. But the thing is, especially when you are in an area with bad weather, if the weather's really shit, you're kind of really not going to want to walk 20 meters out into blitzing flipping rain to get to the shed, yeah? So it's better to have closer to, even if you end up creating a little temporary structure just outside your back door sort of thing, adjoining that you can walk into, like a 2x2, you know, chook run converted into some sort of half shed, like, you know, even that would be better. So set yourself up to be wanting to play with it on a daily basis or close to. So workbenches along with your tools is the next big thing. So being aware of what kind of timber there is to work with, what are the absolute basic tools you need, the playing with that, starting with joinery, making sure you're aware of OH&S, look at your local, state or federal or national guidelines for